Bill Anderson, you're chasing this, what seems to be an ongoing story in Atlantic City, this absolute, what I consider a taxpayer boondoggle in the Revel Casino, and now they're in danger of potentially closing their doors. What do you got?
Yeah, 2 years ago, politicians told us that the $2.4 billion Revel Casino was going to save Atlantic City. But I spoke to one of the guests there, and they told me business as usual is actually part of the problem.
We were here 2 summers ago, and it was fabulous. I think it was pretty new at the time. Great. This year, yeah, definitely kind of not up to speed for sure. It was very, very empty. Not as clean as it used to be, and just, yeah, a little disappointed.
Now they're filing their second bankruptcy, and they issued this letter to employees that says if they can't find a buyer by the end of the summer, then thousands could be fired. Workers were actually, for obvious reasons, very hesitant to speak on camera, but one of the people told me off camera that employees are afraid that other casinos are shutting down and jobs are scarce. I asked Councilman Mo Delgado if government should step in once again with more Revel aid, tax credits, or what have you, and he said enough is enough.
This company, I mean, it's a private entity. They have tons of financial backers in the background that should have seen all this going on. So for us to constantly bail this out, it'd be a disservice to our communities who pay the taxes.
A spokeswoman for the Revel told me that the letter warning employees of the firing is actually just part of the legal process of bankruptcy sale. They have to give them notice. She said that the Revel would continue as usual while they looked for a buyer. So after barely 2 years and several $100 million in tax credits, the Revel and honestly Atlantic City, tourism is dying. The question now becomes whose job is it to save it?
We've brought in Jim McQueenie. Jim McQueenie is the host of New Jersey Now on My 9, airs Sundays at noon. Jim, I want to get your take on this. At what point do we just say enough is enough, let the market take over? I want to know why the regulators decide that they need to keep Atlantic City afloat when the market is showing the exact opposite. People are not going.
I'm reminded of a Back to the Future moment when it comes to Atlantic City. Brendan Byrne, the governor who instituted it and made it possible, was criticized a year after it was in operation for how much corruption was going on and crime in Atlantic City. And the mayor said, hey, guys, easy on me, please. A year ago, there was nothing to steal in Atlantic City. We're back to the future. Here we are again. There's hardly anything going to be there in 5 years.
All signs before it was built, going back 10 years, say it never should have been built. It never should have been built. It went against all fiscal logic, and Republicans and Democrats take the blame. The legislature and the governor take the blame for this.
But there's a problem, and all of us are saying that it's not our responsibility to save it, but there are 2,000, 3,000 people who are employed just by the Revel, and that's where that whole concept of too big to fail comes into play. If you let them fail, you now have 2,000 or 3,000 unemployed in Atlantic City.
And that's why the state keeps jumping in. Those 2,000 and 3,000 jobs are also 2,000 and 3,000 voters for people like Sweeney and other South Jersey Democrats. These people who work in Atlantic City also vote, which is why the legislature keeps coming to the rescue.
At what point do we get government out of the gaming business and open it up so the small mom and pop shops, like they do in Nevada, can take advantage of the incredible demand? Only government could screw this up. The demand for gambling is up here, and we can't get it right. Open it up to the private market and see what happens.
The reality is that the private sector found their patsies. It's called government. If they had to invest by themselves with all their money, they wouldn't have done it in recent years because of the competition. But they had government on the side looking to protect either votes or jobs and look good. They threw the money in as a co-down payment, and we're now left to have to pick up the rest.
Let them all go under, and let's have Atlantic City back as a family destination. Make it safer than it is today. Wouldn't be a terrible thing.